Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission.
And so I've shared the gospel. I've shared my testimony with so many people on the street, different places where the Lord's led me. And, it's interesting, David. I've actually talked to people here in Canada who've never heard the gospel, or they're not familiar. They think, oh, you mean music? Because if you ask people, hey, has anyone shared with you the gospel? They'll be like, the gospel, like as in country music? Like
Wow.
yeah, because
To
we're
us,
seeing
that's
a
such a
generation.
strange correlation. I mean, I wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah, gospel music, right?
Yeah,
Johnny Cash or whatever. But we've run into people like that because there's a generation now that have been raised by people who are either de-churched, who've left the church, they're prodigals, and they're raising their kids who are now adults, totally outside of church, which wasn't the case, 50 years ago, 60 years ago in Canada, where a good 70-80% of people would identify as Christian and went to church. But it's not like that. And so it's just interesting how we truly do live in a post-Christian world. And yeah, it takes being led by the Holy Spirit to present the gospel in a way that will make sense to these kind of post-Christian, post-religious people, right? And so that's what I'm finding here.
I wrote about this recently in a book I just finished. It's called Gospel Privilege. And I tried to play with those words because gospel, like you just shared a second ago, already has some pejorative or negative connotations in some circles. And then privilege, obviously, trigger word, all kinds of privileges that are abuse words. But I wrote in there about Gen Z. There's articles everywhere, obviously, all over the internet about how Gen Z is the first truly post-Christian generation. Their experience, they were asking certain simple questions like, who is Jesus Christ? And people, young kids, how old is the youngest or the oldest Gen Zer has got to be, 22, I think, 21, I think it's 2000. Something like that. And they're like, I'm totally confused by the question, one respondent said. And this is not in an area where, for example, I'm recording from in Thailand, where it's normal and natural in what I'm calling a gospel dead zone to not know who Jesus was.
Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission. This podcast is powered by Within Reach Global. Subscribe, watch, and listen on YouTube today. Visit missionspulse.com.